Hi everyone. Today I am working on the 73rd page of my memoir comic, and I thought that while I did so, I would talk to you a little bit about why I quit a stable full-time job to become a full-time artist. Um, so I'm going to be working in Clip Studio Paint, as you might recognize if you're someone that also uses Clip Studio. I'm going to go ahead and close this is, some of my other pages, but we don't need to see all those right now. So that's what my thumbnails look like generally. They're a little crazy, but basically it's like, for me, as long as I know what's going on, it doesn't really matter um, how weird they look, right? So this page is actually relevant to the topic that I wanted to talk about. This is a dream that I had right before I ended up quitting my job. And uh, trigger warning, grief, I guess. If you've seen some of my other videos or maybe you follow me on Instagram, you know that it's been about a year since my dad passed away. It'll be a year and a few days, actually. And following that experience, um, I just let me think about how I want to say this. I guess really, I knew, he had cancer. So I knew even when he was sick, I started getting this sense of like, you know, this other stuff is not important, basically. Um, I worked as a marketing director um, at a university doing marketing for all kinds of stuff for recreation and wellness departments and even like marketing for like the university as a whole. And when my dad was sick and especially after he passed away, I just felt like, this poster that I'm making, right? It's important, right? It's important to get people into these services and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, like being anxious about this or being worried about it, um, is just not worth it. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's a little harder to talk about it while drawing than I thought that it would be actually, but um, basically, I just knew that I wasn't happy, number one, and it wasn't only because my dad passed, but that had a big impact on me coming to terms with that unhappiness. And there were times that I loved my job. There was a point where I loved it, and I worked with some students. I love teaching. I love working with student staff. It was always my favorite part of the job was like teaching and mentoring people and fostering creativity in other people. But I knew that something had to change, and you get this feeling like, well, time really is limited, you know. So if my dad passed away when he was 70 years old, and I'm 35 at this point, um, that's like, that would mean that my life is half over, right? So I just, yeah, it was just time. I went to school for art. Um, I got a Master of Fine Arts degree actually. So always been making art and, well trained in the arts and stuff like that. And at the same time, I was always working in marketing. And at some point, my path sort of went, there was a point where I was like doing both all the time, marketing and art full time, both. Um, but you can't keep that up as you start getting promoted, like those memes of millennials that get promoted and all of a sudden they're like, wait, is this really what I wanted? Um, and I knew that it was time for me to get back to the art. And, that's always been the thing that was the most important to me. And I needed to work for myself. And so here I am. um, and, approximately within a couple nights, I think, of the day that I actually told my boss that I wanted to quit, I had this dream about my dad. And this image is probably very strange, and I haven't explained it to you at all. But essentially, in the dream, there's a part where there's like this gold vase, and it's like filling up with things that represent memories that I share with my dad. And after having this dream, I woke up and some other things happened that are described, in the comic book. And after waking up, I was just thinking about comics, and my dad was a really big comic fan. Um, you know, he was one of those people that had comics when he was young, and then, they got thrown out or, what have you, when he was younger. And then, like, he was in the military, and after coming back from deployment at one point, like, he turned 50 while he was deployed, and when he came back, um, he just wanted to collect comic books, and so he started going in hard on that pastime, trying to kind of like get his collection back together. Um, but even before he really started doing that, collecting again, he, bought me my first comic books, and you know, taught me how to read them with gloves and stuff like that, like Spider Girl and Tomb Raider and stuff, the single issues, and putting them in the sleeves and taking care of them. And anyway, so comics were like part of our relationship. And whenever he got sick initially, his first birthday after his initial diagnosis, it was like probably less than a month after that. Um, I made a comic about him, um, like a humorous little comic, and I gave it to him for his birthday. And it made him cry. And after that, I kept wanting to make him more comics, for his birthday and other holidays and stuff. And he was always supportive of my wanting to be an artist, and drawing and liking all that kind of stuff from a very young age. And anyway, so I wake up and I'm thinking about him and the comics and all that stuff. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna start over, like, it feels like comics are the point, you know. It's hard to describe it exactly. Um, I'm a little bit better at describing it in comic form or written form than talking about it out loud. But um, yeah, basically, I knew that comics were one of the main things I needed to focus on. So I quit my job. Um, I told my boss, I put in my 2 weeks. Um, and that was in December of 2025, like midway through December. So I finished out December. And yeah, I've been making comics and stuff ever since. Working on my paintings, making videos, all that kind of stuff. And I'm really glad that I did it. It's definitely different. Um, I don't know how many people talk to others like when they make these kind of videos about, oh, should I quit my job? Um, one of the things that you have to come to terms with is like, um, obviously there's going to be like less security in what you're doing, which seems obvious, but like your income is kind of more variable month to month, especially starting out. But that can create a lot of anxiety for some people, and I know I'm an anxious person. And one of the things that I had to kind of internalize was that um, variability or um, you know a different kind of security did not mean that I was in danger necessarily. Um, Sometimes it does, but in this case, I wasn't in danger. I've been doing okay. And sometimes when your body is like, and your brain are like in that emergency state all the time, it's not helpful. Um, Sometimes it can help you do amazing things. And sometimes you can focus a lot better and make better work and stuff if you are not in a, you know, fight or flight state all the time because you're worried about money. So that is something that can be challenging about it. And I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. Um, so this isn't an advice video necessarily. I'm just sharing that one thing in particular for right now. Um, but yeah, so I've been working on this graphic novel. Um, some of it, there's like a few pages here and there that are from, the comics that I made for my dad. And the comic overall, the graphic novel is called Unseen Life. And I am anticipating having it done by the end of August, is my optimistic self-imposed due date. So in summary, I left my job because I wanted to pursue art full time, and that was something that I had always wanted. Um, and I needed to finally realize that dream. I hadn't really done that since I was in grad school. And, I miss having my students and stuff like that. That's definitely my favorite part. But I'm happy to be working for myself. I'm happy to, and thankful to be able to tell stories and make art and draw. And this particular piece that I'm working on, Unseen Life, is a memoir comic. A lot of my work is pretty surreal. Um, so it does have that aspect to it. Like some of it is a little bit more um, straightforward and slice of life. Some of it is silly. Some of it is pretty serious. Maybe it'll make you tear up a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'm super excited about this. Tentatively, I'm hoping to finish it by the end of August. That's my self-imposed deadline, and I can't wait to make some more videos while working on different pages to give you a preview and to talk about the process and also just some things I'm curious about and that I think about while I'm working. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.